If there's one thing I've learned watching men lose women they never truly had, it's this. The moment you start trying to hold on, you've already let go. You feel it in your chest right now, the tension, the constant checking of your phone, the half-written messages you delete because you don't want to say the wrong thing. You think attachment comes from effort, from consistency, from showing her how much you care. But the brutal truth is that the calm detachment you're afraid of is the very thing that makes her lean in. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to develop that calm detachment without becoming cold, fake, or bitter. Picture this. You're sitting across from her at a dimly lit table. She's talking, laughing, touching her hair. Inside your head, there's noise. Is she into me? Did I text too fast last night? What if I mess this up? You're nodding, smiling, but you're not present. You're auditioning. And she feels it. Not consciously, not as a thought, but as a sensation. Something in you is reaching, pulling, asking. Calm detachment is the opposite of that. It's when you're there, fully, but you're not leaning forward emotionally, trying to extract reassurance. It's when you're rooted, still, solid, and paradoxically, that stillness creates gravity. Most guys misunderstand detachment. They hear it and think it means acting uninterested, replying late on purpose, playing games. That's not detachment. That's anxiety in disguise. That's you caring so much that you're strategizing every move. Real detachment isn't a tactic. It's a state. It's the absence of need. And need is what kills attraction faster than any mistake you could make. You can say the wrong thing and recover. You can be awkward and recover. But the moment she senses that your emotional stability depends on her response, something in her closes. Think about water. When you try to grab it, it slips through your fingers. When your hand is open and still, it rests there. Women respond the same way to emotional energy. When you chase, when you push, when you hover, they pull away without even knowing why. When you're calm, self-contained, and unbothered by outcomes, they start orbiting you. Not because you're mysterious, but because you're safe in yourself. And safety, at an emotional level, is intoxicating. Here's the mistake almost every man makes. He believes connection is built by giving more attention, more reassurance, more availability. So when she pulls back even a little, he panics internally and doubles down. He sends the just checking in text. He asks if everything's okay. He tries to talk it out. From his perspective, he's being mature. From her nervous system's perspective, he's collapsing. You can feel the shift when it happens. Conversations get shorter, responses get slower. You tell yourself she's busy, but deep down you know something changed. Calm detachment begins when you stop trying to manage her emotions. You don't try to lift her mood. You don't try to fix her uncertainty. You don't try to secure your position. You let her feel whatever she feels, and you stay exactly the same. That doesn't mean you're distant or rude. You're warm. You're present. But you're not reactive. When she's enthusiastic, you enjoy it without clinging. When she's quiet, you don't chase the silence. You trust yourself enough to let things breathe. There's a moment that defines this. She doesn't text back for hours. Your mind starts spinning. Old patterns wake up. You want to check your phone again. You want to send something clever or casual. This is where calm detachment is forged. You notice the urge, and you don't obey it. Not out of strategy, but out of self-respect. You return to your life, your work, your body, your purpose. And something subtle happens. Your nervous system settles. You're no longer waiting. You're living. When she finally does reply, you answer from that grounded place, not from relief. This isn't about power over her. It's about power over yourself. Women don't attach to men who are trying to win them. They attach to men who are already whole. Men whose emotional center of gravity doesn't shift with every interaction. When you're detached in this way, your presence feels rare. There's no pressure around you, no unspoken demand. She can step closer without feeling consumed. And that freedom is what makes her choose you again and again. You'll notice something else when you practice this. She starts testing the space. She might pull away slightly to see if you chase. She might say something provocative, or go quiet, or mention another guy casually. This is where most men fail. They react. They get jealous, cold, sarcastic, or needy. Calm detachment means you don't flinch. You don't suppress emotion. You just don't let it drive you. You stay relaxed, curious, almost amused. Because your sense of worth isn't on trial. The exercise is simple but brutal. The next time you feel the tightening in your chest, the urge to secure, to clarify, to lock things down, you pause. You do nothing externally. You sit with the discomfort internally. You breathe. You let the feeling pass without acting on it. Every time you do this, you rewire yourself. You become the man who doesn't chase certainty, because he is certain in himself. And that inner certainty starts to change the way women experience you. Even if they can't explain why. As you stop trying to hold her attention, something unexpected begins to happen. She starts holding yours. She starts leaning in, asking questions, opening up emotionally. Not because you demanded it, but because your calm created space for it. And in that space, attachment grows naturally, quietly, without force setting the stage for a dynamic most men never experience, but desperately want. The shift usually happens when you least expect it. She's the one leaning forward now, filling the silence you no longer rush to break. You catch it in the way her questions change. They're not logistical anymore. They're personal. What are you really like when no one's watching? That question doesn't come from comfort alone. It comes from curiosity mixed with a low-grade fear of losing access. And that fear only shows up when you're no longer over-available. Here's the psychological layer most men never see. Attraction isn't built on how much you give. It's built on how you hold yourself while you give. When you're attached to the outcome, every action carries tension. Your compliments feel like bids. Your affection feels like a contract. She senses that if she accepts, she owes you something. Calm detachment removes the debt. You're not investing to get a return. You're expressing because it's who you are. That authenticity is rare, and rarity triggers value. Think back to a time when you wanted someone who didn't seem to need you. Not because they were arrogant, but because their life was already full. Their attention felt like a gift, not a transaction. That's the emotional position you're stepping into now. Not by pretending to be busy, but by actually being fulfilled. Your days don't revolve around her reactions. Your mood isn't dependent on her validation. And that independence gives her room to attach without feeling trapped. There's a moment when she realizes this dynamic has changed. She sends a message that's slightly vulnerable. Maybe it's late at night. Maybe it's a subtle confession. In the past, you would have jumped on it, over-responded, tried to deepen the moment immediately. Now you stay grounded. You respond. Warmly, but you don't over-explain. You don't push for more. You let the moment be what it is. And that restraint does something powerful. It tells her you're not starving for intimacy. You're capable of it, but you're not chasing. This is where myth collapses. You've been told women want emotional availability above all else. The truth is, they want emotional stability first. Availability without stability feels like pressure. Stability without availability feels distant. Calm detachment is the balance. Point. You're open, but not exposed. You're present, but not pleading. When you share, it's from abundance, not from a need to be understood at all costs. Watch how conflict changes when you operate from this place. She's irritated. Maybe she's testing boundaries. Maybe she's just having a day. Old you would have tried to smooth it over immediately or defend yourself. Calm detachment means you don't rush to fix her feelings or justify your existence. You listen. You acknowledge. You don't absorb the chaos. Your nervous system stays steady while hers spikes and settles. And in that contrast, something almost primal happens. She relaxes. She trusts. Because emotionally, you're the anchor in the storm. Men ask if this means you care less. It's the opposite. You care more cleanly, without fear contaminating your actions. You're not withholding love. You're removing desperation. And desperation is what repels, even when it's wrapped in kindness. When you stop trying to be chosen, you become choosable. When you stop asking for reassurance, you become reassuring. There will be a point where she tries to define the relationship. This is another test, not a manipulation and instinctive check. Is this man stable enough to attach to, or will he collapse under closeness? Calm detachment doesn't dodge the conversation. It meets it without clinging. You speak honestly about what you want, but you're not bargaining. You're not afraid of losing her by telling the truth, because you're not afraid of being without her. That confidence isn't loud. It's quiet, and it hits deeper than any rehearsed line. Notice what's happening internally now. The anxiety that used to dominate your interactions is fading. You're not scanning for signs anymore. You're responding, not anticipating. That internal calm is the real work. Everything else is a byproduct. Women attach to the way you make them feel inside themselves. Calm detachment makes them feel free, safe, and intrigued all at once. Free, because you don't cage them. Safe, because you don't wobble. Intrigued, because you're not predictable. And yes, some women will drift away when you stop chasing. Let them. Those connections were held together by effort, not alignment. The ones who stay, who lean in harder, are responding to the man you actually are when you're not trying to be anything. That's the paradox. You don't become more attractive by adding behaviors. You become more attractive by removing the fear underneath them. Eventually, she starts to invest emotionally in ways you never asked for. She checks in. She opens up. She wants to be close. And you don't rush to secure it. You enjoy it, calmly, because you know attachment that grows in stillness is stronger than attachment forced by effort. You don't lock her down. You let her choose. Over and over. And here's the final truth most men resist. Calm detachment doesn't guarantee she'll stay forever. Nothing does. What it guarantees is that you'll never abandon yourself to keep someone else. You don't get her back by waiting. You get her back by never needing her again.